put it back.
Yep, yeah.
That needs to go.
I know. You ready?
Oh,
No.
it's gonna be a month of chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done everything we can to prepare, but like, it's only like.
So yeah, I mean,
You don't know what you don't know.
it's a big ass. It's a huge. We're
Really
gonna have.
excited, yeah, really excited about this. Yeah, we're gonna go to the stage. And then the staircase that goes down and the elevator are going away, so we're gonna get out there. So we're gonna put like a nice little picture on the back. And then because the staircase is no longer gonna be an entrance, there's gonna be a patio off the side. So we'll be able to spill out outside and walk. Like it's gonna look like.
And what are you doing like in the interim after the connected down?
It's not gonna work. All right.
It seems to be at odds with your
Style.
nowadays off, yeah, on trip down.
Which one? Alternate sites for the admins and managers. There's no room for us at also. I'm not able to talk. If not, we're just all looking. I'll be up here a lot, you know, but I'm hoping I can make that happen. I don't like working. Not my thing. No worries.
Yeah, we're ready, we're live. As of like, I don't know. So.
It's sitting right there. Okay, yes. Yeah. Yeah, the library director.
I know.
I bet. It's all your voice. Yeah.
Well, I asked. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Better not vote so. All right, so welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm Nikki Winslow. I'm the district director for the Altadena Library District. First, I will start us off by reading our library district's land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tonga peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hahamanga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tonga.
There's Colonel.
I could hear myself. It wasn't good. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tonga is referred to as Tavangar, which includes the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tonga peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, present and past, vibrant communities, and culture of the Gabrielino Tonga people for our collection development, resources, and program offerings. Next, I want to make a few announcements. Want me to keep going? You're like a Mike Diva. That's better.
Yay.
Woo. Okay. All right, so I just want to make a few announcements about upcoming events and happenings. Sadly, we will be closing our wonderful main library that we're currently sitting in next Saturday, January 31st, to complete a much needed renovation project of our beloved mid-century modern gem of a building. Just so you know, we're going to maintain the historical integrity. I was just telling Alex, this room is going to be stunning, but we're going to make sure that this building is universally accessible for everyone. Anyone that has mobility challenges knows, like, you need to know the secret handshake to come in this door for a program here. So although we are sad to close, when we reopen, it's going to be a stunning historic gem still, but also a modern library that we can carry forward for the next 6 decades, right? So we anticipate it being closed for approximately 14 to 18 months. Hopefully we'll be able to grand reopen in mid to late 2027, which by the way would be the 60th anniversary of the building. If you want more information about the project, please visit the next chapter page on our website, which we keep updated, or just reach out to me. I forgot to bring cards in, but I'll put some of my cards in the back. If you ever have questions, I'm happy to answer them, okay? And refer people to me if they do. Let's see. Also, please visit our other 2 library sites in case you aren't aware that we have those. Our Bob Lucas Memorial Library and Literacy Center, which we grand reopened in August, is beautiful. Please go check it out. Same architectural firm did that design as well. On Lincoln and Ventura, which will be open 7 days a week. Yay. Sunday hours, starting on February 2nd, as well as our Altadena Library at Loma Alta Park, which is open Monday through Saturday currently and will continue to be through the project. We will also have our 2 mobile library vans regularly out in the community at local businesses and schools, where you'll also be able to check out items, return them, and get access to library services. So check out our website for their schedules as well. You may be wondering why I'm dressed so casually today. At least if you know me, because this is not my typical attire, I think some people would say. And that's because I was at our Bob Lucas Library this morning painting the mural in our parking lot. It was really fun. I'm probably going to go back after this. And in the reading garden alongside many other Altadena residents. It's not too late to participate if you want to help paint the mural. They're going to be there today until 4 p.m. So depending on when this gets out, and then tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you want to help paint the mural, please come out there and join us. It looks absolutely incredible. And the design was inspired by help from many of our poets laureate. So even if you don't come help, come check it out once it's done. Let's see. As I'm sure you know, we have lots of other events and programs going on. Please check them out on our events page of our website, including more programs by our wonderful poets. And I hope to see you at some of them. I'll wrap up, sorry. I know I'm going on too long today. Today, as we gather for From Ashes to Renewal, we mark 1 year since the Altadena fires, a moment that changed our landscape and touched every one of us in different ways. This afternoon is about remembering, honoring, and holding space for both grief and growth. Through poetry and reflection, we celebrate the resilience of this community, the land we call home, and the ongoing spirit of renewal that continues to guide us forward. We're grateful to share this time together with you. Now, without further ado, please help me welcome our Academy of American Poets Fellows and Altadena Poets Laureate Saba Sarwar and Lester Graves-Lennon. Nice to meet you, the library. Let's give another round of applause.
Nikki, the amazing library staff, they're not all here today, but they do amazing work. Nikki, Catalina, Bryn, Edith, and Alex, who is live streaming, to all our guests online. Hi, maybe can we should we?
Three of them.
The three? Joining, and this event is recorded and will be available on the library's YouTube site, so after the event, so you missed part of it, if you have to run out, you can watch the rest of it. My name is Seva Sarwar,
Lester Gravesline.
and we are honored to be here today. Thank you for joining us for poetry reading, as Nikki said, commemorating the 1-year anniversary of the Eton Fire. Our programming this entire year is a reflection and healing after the fire, even as we make connections between local, national, and global struggles and histories. It is a dark time as we witness violence near and afar. I know we are all looking at Minneapolis right now. And the horrific loss is another life taken by ICE. And as my co-poet Laureate Lester reminds us in every email he sends with a quote from Toni Morrison, in times of darkness, artists go to work. We are here today to go to work with the power of words. Thank you all for joining us. Really means a lot. I also want to thank our program manager, Christina Cortez, who is in the back setting up chairs. We'll say everything that's happening back there. High school support staff, Adalia Rivera, you want to just wave, Adalia, for all the work that you do. Thank you, Adalia. And a shout out to Mr. Jean Rea. Please raise your hand just so we know who you are for the incredible work that he's doing at Pasadena High School in his classroom, and to Octavia's Bookshop, Armory, Side Street Project, and all the other organizations who have cross-promoted today's event. Before we get started, quick announcements. The next round of Altadena Poets Laureate is open. Please apply. Deadline to submit is February 15th. Please spread the word. The application information is on the website, altadenapoetslaureate.com. Please apply.
Yeah, we stepped down at the end of April. So we're looking for folks to step in and continue the progress that has been made.
20 years, people. Altadena Library has been offering this amazing program for 20 years. And we will celebrate that in April with the book festival.
And February 15th is another important date, because by that date, those of you who have submitted for the 2026 anthology will get your responses, so you'll know if you can or you don't.
And that will be published by the Golden Cushions Press, which is run by Thelma Reyes, former poet laureate. She is here today, and she will also wave just to say hello. So many amazing people in this room. So thank you all. Cannot acknowledge every single one of you, but just know you are all here because you care, you matter, your words matter, and your presence matters. Thank you. And everyone in this room and in our community has been affected by the fires. Some have lost homes, some are displaced alongside other residents, while more are in the community as allies. Our next two events flyers are on your site. I don't want to repeat everything that's there. I don't want to take up too much time. February 20th closed workshop, February 28th reading, open mic always, as there is today. For those who are here to read on the open, who want to share your words, please sign up for the open mic right now. 1 poem per person. And today, as we gather to remember, breathe, resist, and renew with words, we know Altadena is not for sale, and the library offers community to all. This is the time for artists to get together. So we will get started. Just so you know, we will not read the bios of the poets. Those are available for you in front of you in the programs, on the flyers, in your chairs. The poets will read in alphabetical order, starting with our amazing emerging poets, high school students, Emilia Cabrales and Kaylee Shahaban. followed by Seshu Foster, Robin D.G. Kelly, Elaine Lipkin, Roberta Martinez, Ruth Nolan, Andrew Wessels, and close off with Desiree Zamarano. At the end, Lester will read a short poem, and so will I, and then we will begin the open mic. Everybody on the lineup is here for a reason. They all have connections to Altadena, and your words matter, your presence matters. Thank you. Hi, my name is Kaylee. I'm going to be reading one of my stories from my vignettes called I See Differently. The story I'll be reading today is called My Pause. My life now is nothing at all like the way it used to be. My life was perfect for me. It had everything I wanted. My family, my house, and my memories I had created over the years in that house. I always seem to look back to when my 6-year-old brother, David, and I would just run around in our front yard. We played and jumped. When it was time for dinner, my mom would always yell, "Yeah, sacrament," from all the way inside. Sometimes we were inside, David and I would always jump on the bed. Para de brincar en la cama, my mom would say. David still shared a room with my parents because he was so small and scared. But then it all just disappeared. My whole life was tinkered for me in a few seconds. On January 7th, 4:25 p.m., I opened my curtains from my room to look out the window to enjoy the view and the beautiful sky. I loved looking at the gorgeous sky from my bedroom. It didn't seem that day I mostly just laid in bed. At 8:11 p.m., I saw red in the sky. It didn't seem that close, so we went to bed. I couldn't sleep because of how nervous I felt. At 11:23, I got up and saw flames rising and spreading all through the sky and coming towards us. I was scared. I I was scared, but I went back to bed and laid down. I still couldn't go to bed. At 1:07 a.m., January 8th, I saw the flames, but those didn't look normal at all. Those flames looked like they were bombs from how big the fire had gotten. We started to leave around 10 minutes later. I was in complete shock. I felt like I couldn't move. The whole sky was red, smoky filled with scary flames that looked unbeatable. The morning of January 8th, 8 a.m., we had gotten the news that everything we had burned to ashes. I couldn't believe those words. I felt like I was in a dream and couldn't wake up. My house now might be a bit smaller than before, but it's my home and it's wonderful. We have a pretty big backyard and a small front yard. The front yard has a really big tree where we put a swing on it for us to have fun. I still miss my old home very much. That home carried memories that will never be replaceable, like when my brother was born and started taking his first steps, or when I got my first ever dog. But most importantly, that took care of us while my little brother and I were growing up. I'm still getting settled and used to my home now. I love my I love my home, whether it's my old home or my new home. I recognize it's my home as I step foot into that house, and I see and smell beautiful fresh roses my mom gets every week. Also, as I see and hear my dog's barks as he runs to me to pet his fluffy brown fur, as I taste the air with the freshly cooked dinner that my mom makes every day. All I need is that, which is what I have, and a roof over my head, and of course my family. But I'm still waiting. When will I go back home? My name is Amelia Rose. I will be reading to you a collection from my vignette called Amelia with the Name. I'll be reading to you my story that I wrote called My Orange Jelly. 1-year-old Amelia, 14-year-old Amelia, two different people completely. 1-year-old Amelia lived in a run-down old-style home in a great big mountain of capacity. My street was beautiful with huge trees that gave us shade on hot days, and a huge front yard where we would lie on a blanket and eat takeout. We also had this wood fence that kept us safe from the people and the coyotes that came late at night. 2-year-old Amelia still lived in that home in the dead-end street, Altadena, but the fence was fixed up, and I no longer had a dad who lived with me. It was just me, my mom, my stepdad, Junior, and my brother, and it stayed that way. 3 years have passed, and nothing in that home has changed, but the people living in it, like me. I'm no longer so tiny.
Ron was sleeping in the same room as my mom. I decided to take my brother's old room, make it my room. I learned to talk so much and started school. I think that's what I love so much about that home, is that even if you changed, the house and the memories inside that home didn't. I was now 6 and 7 years old then, in first and second grade. I'd eventually named my home Jelly. And I still ate takeout food in my front yard I loved. I spent most of my Sundays alone in that home on a dead-end street on Ewing Avenue. Even though my big brother Eric was there with me, I didn't feel like he was there at all. He would sleep in his room until the afternoon and get up and play games. When he was hungry, he would make us both a cup of noodle and a ham sandwich or chips in the soup. Sometimes we'd watch a movie together, but most times it was just me and all my stuffed animals. Everywhere I went, I needed sugar bear with me. The stuffed animal I got when I was a baby. I still am now, but just not the same now. The rest of my years didn't matter except when I was 10 and 11. These years may have been my worst years. Absolutely ruined me completely. I was in the 5th and 6th grade those years. Found out with the guys people in the wrong environment. I did things I still think about, except things I can never take back. The only place that loved me for all my faults was my home. I felt warm and calm whenever I laid down in my bed or ate dinner by myself. That home shaped me and my moments. To most, it was just a home. To me, Jelly, you were all I am. I never pictured myself anywhere else but home. Now, where am I supposed to go? But I'll bite my tongue again. I believe it will be okay if I don't like it. But as I stepped into my car, I stepped off my front yard one last time. Something in that weird orange tells me I'm never coming home. And if you burn today, just tread the way. The orange tells us all being world. The grass, trees, and homes, and how I hate myself for leaving sugar bear. If you drive up to Ewing Avenue, turn on the dead-end street, it's to Jelly, and 1-year-old Emmy with big brother and mom eating takeout from in the front yard. But really, it's just me with my eyes closed, digging around ashes trying to find myself in sugar bear and see where I went wrong.
Thanks. Thanks to Emilia. Thanks to Kaylee. Give them a round of applause. Thanks to the library and to Altadena Poet Laureate for organizing this reading. Thank you all for coming in today. If I was at home, I guess, working by myself, I'd be just trembling with useless rage at what goes on. Obviously, a year ago, the day of the fire, there were these 80 or 90-mile-an-hour winds, and I stood on the hill where I live. While the wind tore off pieces of our roof and threw it down the hill. But at least 7 miles from the mountains, and I could see the fire coming down the mountain. And with that wind, I knew that the firefighters were not going to be able to stop it, at the bottom of the mountain. I didn't know that it was going to go as far as Fair Oaks. Last year I also got a call from the Rapid Response Network to do ice lookout for the crews who were decontaminating senior housing on Fair Oaks Avenue. And I mean, that kind of summed up the current situation for me, that the government response was going to be to attack the people who are decontaminating the senior housing. Yeah. The current book I'm working on is about the erased Japan towns, the Nihonmachis of the Central Coast in California, that were erased in 1942. There were about some 40 of them across California and the western states that were erased by executive order. And yeah, I'm gonna read an old poem that that a couple people put in a new anthology of related of work. In 1942, my mom was senior in high school, and they were bused to go be confined in the Tulare Fairground horse stalls before they were shipped to concentration camp in the Gila River Indian Reservation, Arizona. Yeah. This piece, Visitation, is about visiting Manzanar, which is one of the camps turned into an interesting museum. One, the desert sky obvious, clean and clear above the Owens Valley. The disparate cottonwoods reach down through percolating soil. Lean into space. Leaves flutter greenly in today's breeze. In August or September, cotton may drift over the gravel. At Manzanar, there's a graveyard for those permanently relocated for their own protection, and a stone marker erected after the fact. You deviate from 395, you leave footprints before the winter winds. Beyond the car, there's no electric cord to hold, no plug to put you, no plug for the rage, forgotten or forbidden. Out of all practically placed behind them now, just this mark and route lives took. Unsung they remain behind the billboards of popular song, taking their silence home. As cottonwoods take lightning to ground, crack, splinter, and burn. All winter leafless, they're frozen under the black clouds. The people have gone, they've turned back to their work. 2. Those sleeping in the land in the creosote bush and ashen dust, swirling around the big stones, are beckoning to you, and you beckon to them with your memory. You remember the names you read of the camp and the travelers, what happened here when the rib cage of home was finally pulled free from the backbone of the spirit, and the dates when the heart here ended. 4, immigrant through barbed wire, child of the cold dawn, your destiny runs in all directions, ice crystals over, sea of mud in the spring, plain of dust in the summer. The season turns on you and your children, the belongings proletarian, forsaken by history, but not by racists for their gain. This was why they made the law, Alien Exclusion Act, anti-miscegenation laws, Japanese could not own land. These are not my words. Mere facts rise above ancestry. What was done? Turn your back on the past. It's theirs, their private property, coagulant in the lines and scars on the maps of skin. Face forward, face the future. They will get the line of your jaw along your shoulder, and that's good enough for them. Six, under the black wing of calm hair, your dark eyes watch and wait. Glance sharply above the collar of the thick winter coat you wear. Carry everything yourself and tag it with your number. It was only a matter of years, Mother, before you freshened your face in ordinary storefront windows. It was only years, Grandfather, before you walked the sidewalk stooped as if from strawberries. Like any other American child tagged like baggage, your black eyes watched that highway of silence. Thanks very much. No.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Before I do anything, if you want information about what's going on in the world, Sonali Cohort has a show, blog called Rising Up with Sonali, who's here. Make sure you sign up and become, subscriber, because it's the best information we get. That's not why I'm here. That's not commercial. Okay, so I'm not a poet, though I write about poets. I'm here kind of because Seba asked me, prevailed on me, and said you have to be here. I'm here because I love Altadena. In the community that nurtured me, protected me when I came of age in 70s, 80s, but I'm especially here because of my teacher, Dr. Thelma Reyna, who's right here, who taught me how to write. And I realized that was like spring of 1978. Maybe fall of 77, almost 50 years. So we really look good, huh? I mean, don't you think? But Dr. Reyna is everything to me. I mean, I'm here because of that. So I'm gonna read something I wrote. Like I said, I'm not a poet, but I'm doing the best I can. So I lived on West Poppy Fields Drive in the age of Reagan. More Egyptian than Greek, our poppy fields was not a place of slumber and death, but of resurrection, regeneration, and rebirth. Before houses and asphalt, fields of flowers bloomed scarlet, red, turned this plot of hilltop iridescent. The color of my 67 Datsun Roadster, the color of the flowers in my mother's hair. Poppy fields were streets without sidewalks, horses, foothills to run around, caring neighbors, legendary house parties, jam sessions, community, many things going were poverty and inequality, military budgets and misogyny, racist violence and white supremacy. When we entered the moment poet singer Gil Scott-Heron called Winter in America, Altadena in its scattered poppy fields was the promise of what America could be, the opposite of oligarchy, fascism, and white nationalism. The promise of Altadena was a beautiful multiracial community where Black youth were not predators. Community gardens were for the community, and my hippie mother could walk the block barefoot. The promise of Altadena was Omawali Wujama School, where Black children were taught to love themselves, their community, the quest for knowledge, and commit to, quote, constant struggle for freedom to end oppression and build a better world. The promise of Altadena was Michael Zinzin, once owner of a local auto repair shop. He would dedicate his life and lose an eye fighting police violence. The promise of Altadena were resident artists Charles White, John Outerbridge, Ivan Dixon, Octavia Butler, Hazel Clayton Harrison, Charles Carter, Mark Stephen Greenfield, Blossom Powell, Romai Robinson, Margaret Garrett, both senior and junior, Albert Tootie Heath, John Clayton, Bobby Bradford, Manny Maupin, Gordon Curdy, the community's real generational wealth. It is the Altadena Poetry Review and its large crew of contributors, and its editor, Dr. Thelma Reyna, poet laureate, and my teacher, who knew poetry makes community and can free us all. It is Octavia's bookshelf, Nikki High's singular act of love for Altadena and its beautiful Black queer artistic heritage. The promise of Altadena then and now explains what binds people to this place. And bearing witness to genocide, to the colossal destruction and incalculable suffering of Palestinians, showed us what it means to return home to rubble. Beneath the rubble is the land. The land is sacred. It holds our memories. It is where ancestors dwell, reminding us of its true stewards, Gabrielino Tonga, combination, obligation to make things right. But this too is a promise about the people. I know this to be true because the land taught me. You see, I lived on hot fields, not a place of slumber and death, but of resurrection, regeneration, and rebirth. And poppy fields always will. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's great to be here this afternoon with everyone. Great. I was to say moved to Altadena 14 years ago and began going to the library almost immediately. And hope to be back in 2027 when our house in theory will be rebuilt. And I love the idea of the library being rebuilt and back again then as well. So in the spirit of community, I thought I would read a poem that I wrote for my neighbor, former neighbor, Lucille B. Jones. We lived up on Marable Street, just one block below poppy fields. And one thing that was very meaningful to me after our fire anniversary is our block gathered on January 8th, actually in our drive. It felt like we were having a lot party. And it was just wonderful to be there again and to feel the sense of renewal. So our other neighbor, Tom Johnson, always called her the matriarch of Marigold Street. And we're right off Santa Anita, walking distance to the library. And there's a uniquely Altadena reference in the poem. See if anyone can catch it. For Lucille B. Jones, matriarch of Marigold Street. The first time I saw you, you told me how your husband had brought you, the young bride from North Carolina, to be near the Pacific and the mountains. Their wall of shadow and heat cast against the house he built, roots grown deep over 60 years. Now he's a ghost you talk to in odd hours, the lilt of your accent calling him back. Making your way down the drive, you are always glad to see me and my newborn, head cradled as we bent awkwardly to lift up the news, his fuzz of hair edging the carrier, uncertain feet dangling out. A compass of neighbors checks if your paper is still there past 10, the mail past 4, peeks through your east window for movement, watches the lights settle at night on the west. We know you're safe again when the Webster's Pharmacy half-truck delivers its rounds. Old age is not for sissies, you said often, late in your 90s, resolute, housebound, everyone watching you as you once surveyed passers-by from your porch. New family, old guard, the lemon tree shadows us both, the dappled waft of blossom and decay, drifting across our yards like an unseen canopy, the reach of invisible arms sheltering us all. The Webster's truck. Webster's still do deliveries and come down our block and hop off. So I thought I'd read 2 more poems from my new book, Rona Forest, and it came out this October, but I was still working on it in the spring, and I was happy that it hadn't gone to press yet, so I could dedicate the book to Marigold Street. The house lit from within. There's quite a lot of house poems, perhaps presciently in the book, and I know we all think a lot about housing and shelter and what it means to have a home these days. The house lit from within. All I ever wanted was to live inside those radiant squares, beaming from each wall like a vessel built with gold blocks. A window lamp like a lighthouse beam beaconing the waves of dark, moating the air with an aura of calm. Night like a cipher, a thick soil, heavy blanket, pressing everything down. While in the house a halo glows around each chair, cushioning and welcoming, a circle cast so ease can well up to its rim, to say, no matter how long or how lost, the house waits, a path will always lead back. And the final poem I'll read is the final poem in the book, where the title of the book comes from. And it's called Terra Vert, which means green earth, and it is the name of a color that I found in a color dictionary. But what thrilled me about it was the definition that it used to be used to underpaint figures in Italian painting. And I just love this idea that a certain kind of green earth color sort of lived underneath the way the figures were painted, and it has always made me think about our own connection to the earth. Terra Vert. Girl in a forest, girl on a lawn, legs a whir against a shadow of moan. Inside the canvas, green tinges below the albumin cup of her cheeks. Thin arms laid down by her sides, decorous, her veins filling with roots. She will lay against the purr of earth, dress breath billowing to sky. Thank you.
Well, there we go. If you can hear me in the back, raise your hand, please. Thank you. Yes, I used to be a teacher. I was going to share a different poem today. But given everything that is happening now and everything that happened this morning that we're learning about, many of us are traveling in this last year with more than one whammy that we're dealing with. El Paso 2019. You will know me by the target on my back. A target long known in some parts of town, chaparrita, viejita, but most of all, brown, of skin, of experience, y alma. Brown soul resonating with corridos, but not telenovelas. Alma de nopal, llena de las experiencias of the generations that came before, whose souls sang of a place without love, without light, of a land that was so near and yet so far, so far. Cual hoja al viento, a leaf fallen, adrift in the winds of a different world, to make a better life for their children. Pero this target was on the 23 in El Paso, who went to get a good deal at Walmart, to do some shopping while they waited for the rest of their day to begin, to have a laugh with their honey, or maybe get some tacos on their way home, to get the new fixture for the dining room that they finally painted. The 23 with targets on their backs because they were brown, like me, in skin, experience, and soul. Orange. Flames used to be my friend. Flames around the campfire brought memories of s'mores, crispy, mushy bits of sweet, accompanied by crunchy crackers and a shirt about to get sticky. As I sat with friends, sometimes at Camp Mariposa, singing and laughing because we were together. The wind used to be my friend. In far-off lands, I'd feel the push of air and think, if only I could fly, how it would cleanse my innermost being, my heart, my lungs, my skin, my soul. I could be one with the wind. Now it is a trigger, a seed for worry, a need to think about safety. The red-orange ember floating, rocked by thick gray wind, landed in our street. It was followed by red and blue lights and a garbled voice whose message we knew. even though we couldn't make out the words. Orange as the flames that licked at our hearts and souls, that stopped us from carrying more, that made us choose what we could say, that made us choose what we would leave behind, knowing that art and memories that linked us to kith and kin, comadres y compadres, chosen families, would be ravaged. We chose and rechose as the embers and ash rode the wind. The flames it works by those who shared their vision in music and words and lines on scratchboards, expressions of love, brushstrokes of passion, words that held feelings on journal pages, cards mailed for birthdays and in consolation, left to become ash and smolder. A memory lost in the madness of paperwork that would be necessary for the future. Orange as symbol for the warmth of community and neighbors. We miss and work to come back to be with. Of the mortar and brick shops that were made of mortar and brick and mortar. Orange of the sun that filled us with fear, that spoke of uncertainty, that spoke of neighbors hoping to catch each other's eyes, perhaps for the last time, wishing and deeply hoping that we'll see them again back on this street that we call home. Orange that is part of memory and heart future fear. But also orange that is the emotional ember of hope. If passion for one another is red, then for me, passion for community is orange. In community, there is love and strength. In community, passion beats differently, but also beats deep and is capable of filling me with hope and determination, an untapped resource that can give and give. She, his, them gathered together. That was in our hearts on a day where they gathered in orange shirts, thirsty for hope, languages braided together by hope. Orange vests having open hearts, expressing and experiencing how they are valued, how they are to be included as community, how we are here together as community. Thank you.
Ruth, I'm here as a visitor to your community. And I love that you were reading a poem about the hopefulness of the color orange. And then my picture is an orange cloud in the desert at sunset where I live in the desert. And it's a color of hope. I worked as a one-time wildland firefighter. So my reading is in the spirit of the community of firefighters, which is very extensive. And once you're a firefighter, you're always in it. I'd like to also honor that what we see on the media, a lot are the cisgender white men getting interviewed. A lot of stories about some of those guys. But a lot of the firefighting forces are women, people of color, and inmates. The crews make up most of the fire crews, and I want to honor all of them, especially, and those who fought on fires experienced here. Fire behavior, hobo arsonist, dry lightning, exhaust pipes, weed whackers, illegal campfires, utility lines, unprotected, the negligence, billionaires, multinational corporations, gender reveal parties, epic trap, lack of education, high winds, fatal heat, brittle plants, vertical terrain, fractious combustion, champagne bottle explosions, and worse, people trying to escape with nowhere to go, bluebirds, warblers, sparrows, plummet aflame, the air hot and thick as tar, blind evacuation, fatal migration. And that poem is called Fire Behavior. So in these poems today, my goal is to evoke our necessary work of firefighting, both literal and figurative. So we're linking what happened here in Altadena into the resilience to fight some of the fires. All these horrible fires are raging in our society that are caused by human evil. Mopping up. It's the most unraveled and well-paying job I've had. Fighting fires in far-flung, fiery wilderness areas, in the San Bernardino Mountains, the San Gabriels, the Sierra Gates of the Wilderness, Trinity Alps. Most of the time, I was the only girl. Cutting fire lines, slipping on rocks, sucking down smoke. A bunch of guys. After a fire had laid down upon blackened meadows and burnt matchstick forests, our job was far from done. We hiked through baked potato, hot, ankle-deep ash to stir and sift through the debris, what had been burned. Many dead things included, to cope with the danger, the boredom, the traumatic devastation we were witnessing and part of. We joked that incinerated animals were crispy critters, known in their former incarnations as kangaroo rats, Mojave green rattlesnakes, black-tailed jackrabbits. We struggled to keep pace in the slowed down underbelly of once beautiful, little known, or widely beloved Golden State geographies, with lonely names. Horse Thief Spring, Big Tahunga, Last Chance Range, Grapevine Canyon, Wild Wash, Arroyo Seco, Cucamonga Peak. And above us, the whisper remains of trees lurking black and jagged above the cities below. Stripped of the dignity of their names, Jeffrey Pine, Ponderosa, Western Sequoia, Pinyon, White Fir, Incense Cedar, now desiccated as widowmakers, ready with death blow limbs as they toppled when their burned out woods gave way. At our feet, the complete bequeathing of the latter fuels, Western Juniper, Coyote Brush, Poison Oak, Young Jeffrey Pine, the old ones, and Syncopine. So this is what I remember most from my firefighting days. The endless mopping up, being the only girl on the crew, making sure the fire was put to bed, soothing feverish brows of forsaken landscapes to cool them, so they no longer flare up in temperatures, cooling down smoldering land, so it could be domiciled and tamed, even though our work would be short-lived until the next burst of rage from an arsonist or cigarette or spark arrestor, unprotected utility lines, or much less likely, lightning strike. That's what I remember. I remember how often the guys on the crew would ask me why I left my apron of domesticity to flirt with fire instead of with them. Why I didn't stay home, get married, have kids instead. But this is what firefighting is. The work of toughness, of taking care, the work of running towards the flames, not away from them. Because it's what you're trained to do. It's a calling and it never leaves you. This is what it is, the work of saving land and lives, however, wherever we can and cannot. The work of combating gross human negligence more often than not. I have one more poem and it's a true story. 2025, 2026, the 1 year mark. This is not my fire, it is yours today, but I know your fire from the inside. 1995 Redux. Teaching my daughter to put out fire. It isn't your typical scenario, a young mother who worked 7 years as a wildland firefighter, on engine, helicopter hotshot, and handfuls, driving a Jeep in 4-wheel drive with her daughter, 5 years old, up into the foothills of the San Gabriel, Los Angeles, to reach the rattlesnake fire burn zone, the last fire she ever fought. I'm sorry, the first fire she ever fought. This is another July day. The mother wants to see for herself how the mangled landscape looks today. What remains of the sycamore, white alder, cottonwood along the creek below, if anything. What bird sounds might filter through the barren air as we twist on the fire road, negotiating switchbacks and steep slopes. I'm pretty sure most people would tell me this is a very foolish thing to take my daughter out to do, but nonetheless. What reference points can we safely negotiate by without the sturdy pinyon pine or live oak to guard us on our way and provide shade? Without the juniper, she worked on this fire, she watched it all burn away. Huge boulder scatter revealed, ominous ghost whales rising from heavy smoke. I am so sorry I could not be there or be here on that awful January day, watching live on the news from 100 miles away, running over and over in my mind what I could have done or do. If I still had my fire tools, or I was a little bit younger, my helicopter hotshot crew waiting for me and ready to go do initial attack. But here I am, frustrated and feeling terrible. Years beyond what I could do then, and today my mind nags at me with ongoing sorrow, regret, guilt for the critical work I am so trained to do but could not. Watching the fire, knowing those conditions, knowing from the inside out how futile it was, those Santa Ana winds, how even if I'd been here, my hands would have been tied. As your town lost lives and so much of the chaparral of your town, of what you knew. And it was a horrible, hot, clean burn, as they say in Quebec, as you all know. The mother, 1995, wants to reassess and look for signs of life up here in a forbidden land. You know, that so much has been taken away. One careless toss of a cigarette, a father locked away, his best friend dead. Some things have been destroyed forever. Some things have been saved. Some things new and strange grow in this place. But many things are grotesquely regrowing, reaching for the sky, manzanita, chamise, white sage. There are always the fire followers, resilient, beautiful wildflowers. All the beautiful remains, blasting away the ash-stained, gutted, lost marks, homes that got in the way, ghost us with memories. And before they reach the lonely place, the mother and daughter stop and begin to keep. So the daughter can run and play. Her daughter spots it first, a wisp of smoke tickled by light wind and rising. A careless camper, a campfire not put out. So the mother reaches for the army shovel she keeps in her pocket and hands her daughter a bottle of water. We have work to do. This is how you put out a fire before it has a chance to erupt and hurt and kill things and take lives, ruin people's homes. Look for the small things, a wisp of sultry smoke, a gleam of orange eyes, a seduction of tiny flame. This is where it starts. This is where it will stop. Nothing more will burn here today unless we say together, we are a mother and daughter makeshift team, a pair of fire keepers, making our own small gesture together, teaching, learning, protecting. This is our home, we say, not the purview of negligence or violence. This today is how the story will go from now. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here. I'm just really honored to be reading today as my 6-year-old Cam reminded me as we were walking up, reminded me that he used to come here every Wednesday and asking when he was going to be able to start doing that again. I'm going to read 2 poems today. Twice in my life, I guess I've been affected by something kind of larger than what anyone can really imagine. The second was the Eaton fire just over a year ago. The first was 8.5 years ago. My wife and I were living in Istanbul, Turkey during the coup attempt there. And so my first poem is in the aftermath of the coup attempt, when I realized everything in our life was about to change or had already changed, or a little bit of both. And I was sitting on our balcony thinking about that, and also thinking about my friend, the poet Coach Todd, who had recently passed away unexpectedly. I'm just with you. These simple bursts of light, less themselves than before. How the night went on ahead. The morning, I forget, does its work, as time is never enough. Too much collapsing from age, salvaged, built over, to find the worthiness driving the next boat, the remaining stones, the new trees, the same sun. I remember the old blue car in the alley, the same, the same. I'll take the voyage with you, knowing we can't escape. We must go faster for a moment to grasp. The next memory takes my body, the older memories, the ones I can't make. I want to believe through the trees that I can be enough for me. A poem about the fires. I don't know how to write a poem about destruction. My poems are about creating and finding. I could make my first poem about destruction about Altadena's trees. The ocean of green I still see from the freeway, covering the dirt and ash and soot and destruction. I could make my first poem about destruction about the mountains that tower above us, their burn scars as harmful to them as the scratches on my kids' knees. Or about that sharp line on Altadena's western border, where to the west side, the mountains are green and lush, and to the east are brown and dead and burned, divided by that otherworldly orange line that decided this place will burn and that place won't. I could make it about the sounds of work, skeletons of homes starting to rise up, or the fear of that unmarked dark SUV slowing down in front of the work site, or the activity at community centers, or the corporate promises to build our children new parks on top of toxic soils. I could make it about the moment I held my son after telling him everything that was his isn't anymore. I could make it about the 100-year-old tree in our backyard. I could make it about the friends who housed and fed us. I could make it about the bureaucracy and systems doing everything in their power to make rebuilding harder and more traumatizing. I could make it about the science of fire and say something witty about entropy, changing states of matter, about atoms and quantum physics, about the unified field, how destruction is a change of state, and this is a microcosm of the universe. I could make this poem about the people I've met and community I've built. I could make it about my child getting knocked down by the wind as we evacuated, about how we couldn't see through the smoke across the street to the next house. I could make it about crossing down power lines in smoke-filled air and watching my neighbors' houses burn to the ground. I could make it about the thousands of books in my library that I'll never hold again, about the book of fire insurance maps of Istanbul that I used to research my own book, the maps that established the modern day process and industry, fire insurance. I could make it about the 12 homes we lived in last year. I could make this poem about destruction, about the rains that came a few days too late. I haven't written a poem in a long time. Most mornings I wake up afraid that I've forgotten how, and that I've already written my last. I could. I could make this poem. I could make this poem about the fires. Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing audience. You are so marvelous. And to the people who organized this event, thank you so much. This is amazing. And I feel so moved by all the great readers before me. And I'm thinking, you know what? I've done events at Altadena like before. This is the first event I've done in Altadena since the fire. So I might get choked up. So just give me a little grace here, okay? And thank you for being here. So the day of the fire, my husband and I had lived in Altadena for 26 years. That morning, we were driving down lake to LA Fitness. We're going to work out. And I said to him, I know how we've never moved. We have memories on every corner. At 7:30 that night, our neighbor Gabe from across the street knocked on our door and said, you gotta come out and see this. Opening the door, I could smell the smoke. A group of 6 neighbors gathered in the middle of the street. and through the wind and the haze, we saw a blaze on the hillside at Eaton Canyon, the canyon over. I had always known what to do in case of disaster. My husband would get the important papers, I would grab my laptop, some photos, and the expensive jewelry. My daughter, in the middle of all this, called and said I had to get the wedding photos. So I started getting the wedding photos. An hour later, we drove down Lake Avenue again. Dozens of emergency vehicles were stationed at Farnsworth Park, so I thought things were going to be fine. I was optimistic. But the downhill traffic was unlike anything I'd ever seen, and I immediately flashed Palisades. Halfway down the hill, the streetlights were out. I turned left, and I was driving through streets dense with rubble from the wind. A huge tree blocked the street to my friend's home. When we settled into my friend's, she poured us a generous slug of vodka. Say goodbye to dry January, we toasted. And I realized I'd forgotten the jewelry. In the morning, I was shocked to hear that a poet who lived in West Altadena had lost their home to the fires. How had it traveled that far? My daughter's friend was a volunteer firefighter who made his way to our street. He sent us a photo of our house. Our home was still standing. Even telling you that right now makes me nervous. A blessing, a curse, schism, a disaster. Unable to return to our neighborhood, it was a week at least until we realized how extensive the damage was. Gabe's home had burned to the ground, as were most of the homes on the street north and south of us. How incredible it was that a pocket of 5 homes, including ours, stood relatively undamaged but uninhabited. And now everything was upside down, unreal, surreal, impossible to understand. It was 3 weeks before we could return. I told myself the day that we set off, once I actually saw our home, it would no longer be theoretical. It would be real and not be illusion. We drove up Lake Avenue. Normal house, normal store, devastation. Normal building, burned school, devastation. Standing store, devastation, devastation, devastation. Destroyed intersection, devastation, devastation. House, our home. How can you rejoice in your own good fortune when you are surrounded by desolation and wreckage, by the visible pain of others? Driving past the debris of the incinerated homes was like seeing the guts and intestines of households strewn upon the streets. Our front yard was burned, the backyard singed, a wooden fence between neighbors burned down, our neighbor's home behind us gone. We could see through the streets the charred hills, waste and ruin. No, not emotional, just shame. On the day of the fires, our home had been cleaned, and when we returned, it was as we had left it, with a little ash where there were gaps in the older doors and windows. We drove down Lake again, this time in silence. It was on the drive down when I spotted the woman holding up a huge banner that I became emotional. Her poster proclaimed, "Free food for all here, World Central Kitchen." She represented to me everyone who had knocked on doors, helped neighbors, housed friends, donated money, goods, support, or volunteered. She represented to me every damn good thing about humanity. And in that instant, I realized deep down inside, we are all good. 99.99% of us are not only good, but we want to help each other out in times of terrible need. Of the group of neighbors huddled on our street that night, we are all currently out of Altadena, in Long Beach or Summerlin or Burbank or Mid-City. One has listed their lot for sale. 2 are doing everything they can to rebuild. 2 of us, with our standing homes, now check in with each other every week, meet for dinners, out to compare experiences and insurance tips, to support each other in this strange limbo of having a standing home we cannot yet return to explore the issues of whether or not we really want to return to a neighborhood that is emptied. I have no neat takeaways or answers to offer you all. We're still not sure what our next steps will be. What I do know is I want to hold on to and build upon that generous spirit that emerged so vividly the days we accepted fire, and it resides within us all, and we see it in Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should all give a round of applause to the readers that have come before, because they have certainly been exceptional. I have one poem to read. January 8th, I came back up some back ways, to see if my house was still there. It was. Backyard was on fire. Fences were on fire. So for 2 hours, I was in the back with shovel and dirt, to no work, putting out fire. I came out to the front and looked across the street at neighbors' houses, my friend's house. It was gone. And the hardest thing I had to do was to call my friend and tell him, your house is gone. How do you say it? Your house is gone. You call your friend, say, your house is gone. No, you can't start with, your house is gone. Start, I am so sorry, it is gone. Cry, yes, you do for him. He does not cry. He has his garage there. No, it's not. He has our front walls there. No, that's all he has. I am so sorry. Your house is gone. Eyes staring at what no longer is there. Staring where he was staring when coming to see where ruins now rule his home collapse in ruins. Trees black and wind-whipped bend like weeping trees. Chimney left reaching skyward like charred chimney, surviving night-long church to preach Sabbath.
Thank you, Lester. Thank you all again. I will just read a very short poem to honor the amazing community in which we live and the students that give me hope every day. And this one is inspired by one of my former students. It's called Human Connection. Human Connection. In the talk she delivers before 2,000 teachers and staff, Pasadena High School senior Polly, she returned home to witness ashes and rubble. She tells us, human connection will show a path forward. This I want to deliver. Thank you. That is what we have today. We have it with you all in the room, community. And we have some wonderful poets who signed up for the open mic. So we're excited to hear, and your poems do not have to be about the fire. They do not have to be about the theme of the reading. We just want to hear your words. Please limit your work to one poem. We don't want to run way over. We have snacks and we're trying to get to the Omnibus Library for the mural project. So that's why we keep the readings quick, short, and deliver the punch. And there was punch tonight, for sure. Susan Orbeck.
Hey, everyone. So moving to hear all the experience. Thank you to all the poets today. This is from February of last year, a little different take. Ode to Eaton Canyon. I used to scoff at your parched native plants, your part-time stream and waterfall treacle. After rain, your sage-lined trails
smelled like pee in a carpet. A transplant, I still craved green, and you were no classic beauty, yet personality. You drew me in off the hot path to the hush of your oak groves. I flooded roots through your wide open wash, swerving the dogs past the beaver tail and prickly pear. Let the kids run wild, building dams, prayed beneath your bridge on Rosh Hashanah, trekked visitors up your steep firewood to the summit oasis. Slowly, I came to know your vegetation. I named things as I walked: buckwheat, toil, cowboy perfume. In spring, heaps of pink penstemon, blue phacelia, yellow monkey. In winter, on the Jewish festival of trees, I lift my eyes to the mountains, we say, from whence will my help come? Now I look up to your shorn slopes, your wash scorched clean of living things, your Edison towers, the suspected spark of embers that wiped out a world, now closed until further notice. You were made for this, I know. Next season, you'll regenerate. I'll greet the strange new wildflowers that, like ambulance chases, follow fire. But what of my burnt out neighbors? How deep must they dig to find seeds?
Beautiful. Natalia Hinojos. Natalia? Oh, you're coming that way. It's a block, massive. Oh, my, oh.
First I just want to say I'm so grateful that open mic.
Oh, my, yeah.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to say thank you to the organizers and the awesome poets. But I'm so glad that you make a little time for open mic on these occasions. It's great for me to have this opportunity because I can see out of my shell, and it provides another avenue for me to get better at creatively expressing what I have to say. Thank you for listening. This is titled No Papers, No Exceptions. Secret police, secret arrests, secret deportations. Covert operations keep this country safe from criminals like you. Enforcers monitor your places, mask their faces, carry weapons, hidden badges, fake warrants too. Birthplace wrong, birthright gone. No papers, no exceptions. Operatives move quickly, catch you unaware. Chase, choke, cuff, and count you. A number for the quote. They build centers to detain, torment criminals like you. Then send you to an S-ful country, the one from which you came, or none. Gente sin papeles. Hide yourselves. Hold the kids. Know your rights. No papers, no exceptions. A mandate in disguise by the oligarchy right to paint this country white.
So our next open mic is on February 28th, so be sure to be here, and thank you. We need all voices. Terry Nation.
Well, being 6'2", I knew I'd have to adjust this, so. Maybe, okay. Yeah, move it up a couple inches. No. Okay, how's that?
Better.
Thank you. Okay, great. This is not a poem per se. I'm not a poet per se, but this is an inspirational message of resilience and inspiration. Okay, I heard this message of resilience and inspiration over 50 years ago in upstate New York, in my hometown. At a meeting, and I wanted to share it with you. It struck me. It struck me then. I went on and got down the details, and I want to share this with you. This is about a young man who grew up in the Midwest. I'm not going to say the state; it might give it away. Back in the 1800s. True story. True story. In 1831, he started a business that failed. A year later, he ran for the legislature and lost. A year later, he tried to start a second business. It failed. A couple of years later, he suffered a nervous breakdown. A couple of years later, he ran for speaker. He ran for speaker, I guess it was state or local. He lost. A couple of years later, he tried to run for elector. He lost. A couple of years later, he tried to run for Congress and lost. Again, 5 years later, he tried to run for Congress and lost. A few years later, he tried to run for Senate and lost. A couple of years later, I was on the ticket to be vice president, as you might expect, and lost. A couple of years later, he tried to run for the Senate again and lost. And then a couple of years later, in 1860, the same young man I was talking about, Abraham Lincoln, was elected president of the United States. Remember how much that struck me when I first heard it 50 years ago, and I wanted to share that message of resilience and inspiration with everyone here. Thank you.
Just, what is a poem? That just called me a question. So, you can call that a poem. Beverly Lafontaine. So did I do you hear that? We have two more people after that, so thank you all for hanging tight. I don't want to
Great, thank you. So my first wildfire poem was written in 1988, and it was inspired by the 1987 Eaton fire, and I called it Eaton Canyon After the Fire. I'm not going to read that one. I'm going to read this, which was inspired by fire we had in 2017. It was published by Poets Reading the News. Firefall. Fall at last. Heat came too early and stayed too long. All summer, I dreamed of fog-shrouded beaches, walks on thick-leafed paths, under trees bearded with wisdom. The wind is not spice. It is heavy with the scent of charred sycamore and Home Depot specials. I spend hours sorting my belongings in my head. What would I take? What leave behind? And through the days when fire wraps and cooks me into a hard brown nut, I am prepared to start over. Forget the dreams I've lived. Like the earth, I drink the hard liquor of reality. Fire, earthquake, flood. Things lose their meaning. Soggy or turn to ash. Form no longer holds. Yes, I can see myself wizened and leak-proof. Afloat, memories chittering around me like so many children. There are burdens I would not go without. Thank you.
Mary Fitzpatrick.
I live in Pasadena, very close to Altadena Drive. In order of disappearance. First, breath. We had to stop our mouths to keep the flying dust out. Then, leaves. The trees forgave the wind, these rips asking only to remain, to live. Street signs next, flapped like foil, and anything they hit, bent. The wind beguiled big man's shirt over his acre of belly. He could not walk against its strength. Retreated back onto his porch. Would that too be gone? The sparks fell into tall grass so dry it broke, not bent, and blue exploded, ran in madness to consume juniper, eucalyptus, oak, and pine, the ruse, cercis, myrtle, elm, the deodar. Roof, attic, rooms. It was so easy to do. Nothing could intervene. Hurling fire bombs, shooting sparks, or if a fence, simply licking. And you, trusting your shield of fantasy, waited until it climbed over your wall, then set your hasty go bag down to search for your cat, turned back to a bag of flame. Everyone must go. And the one they'll find sitting in his car or lying in her bed. Their trace proving they too were here.
Thank you, Mary. And our last reader for this afternoon is Janari.
Hello, everyone. I'm Denari. I'm from Washington, DC. Y'all can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay, bet. I moved to Pasadena 2 months before the wildfire by myself. And I had to evacuate for 2 months. So I wrote a poem called Fire. I've been writing these poems as I walk through the valleys of death. Sometimes my poems are the only things that I have left. People treat me like I got an S on my chest when I'm just a girl trying to do my best. I keep trying to do what's right, but things keep going left. I ran from the gunfire in the east, now I'm running from wildfires in the west, and everybody looking at me like Janari was next. I've lived in 10 places in the last 8 years. I've been making a home for myself right here. I've been working through all my fears. The fires burned up most of my new community, but my house was in the clear. My next level is near. I'm staying here. I'm becoming known as one of the best amongst my peers. I got a story to tell and I want everyone to hear. If you hear what I've been through, you probably break down in tears. I took a look in the mirror and I love what I see. I'm exactly who I am supposed to be. I am me. I am called Janari. I've been here before and I'll be here again. This time I chose to fight the world with my pen. With my poetry, my presence will never end. My voice will outlast me. I'm still well known even after they tried to outcast me. I'm a victor, no longer a victim. I had to learn how to love the land around me, even though I hate the system. All that pain just left me full of wisdom. I'm from the place where either you or your dreams die. Some call it the project, some call it a project where everyone that's born immediately becomes a suspect. A lot of us are dying there. I didn't die, but my dreams did. Janari, I know you're scared to dream again because you don't want your dreams to be American, but you have to dream. I'm a great historian, but I'm not a great dreamer. Yet somehow I made it from Southeast DC all the way to Pasadena. After all that searching, I finally found a community in Altadena, a sanctuary. I just got here and almost lost it all last January. It lost a lot, but it still stands. I lost a lot, but I still stand. I'm grieving for the land. I've been grieving all my life, and now I'm even grieving where I stand. Everything still worked out, even though none of this was in the plan. I'm a phoenix living on a phoenix. Altadena didn't just say their community. I actually sing. Thank you.
Thank you, Denari. We're so glad you're here. And what a way to end. What a way to end an amazing, amazing afternoon. Please stay on the mailing list, sign up in the back. Many thanks to each and every one of you. Alex, thank you. The library, each one of the poets, and the open mic, all of you who read on that. So thank you. Oh, and one last announcement, there are books for sale. Amazing poets have books for sale available in the back. And Robin D.G. Kelly, who read that amazing ode to Altadena, he wrote the foreword for the Altadena Poetry Review that is available in the back. So the introduction. So please pick that up. There are books. Pan dulce and hang out as community. Thank you all. Next event, workshops on January 21st and reading on February 21st. Oh, and the boys need to be autograph. The boys.